With the Dominion War in full swing, and Starfleet desperate to match their wondrous starship construction program, the organization would suddenly end up with an unexpected problem. But out of this problem, a new class, the Yeager Class, a starship design both strange and fascinating, would be born. But what do we know about this Frankenstein-style class? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, a Star Trek web series that dives into the history of any given topic using beta canon sources and my own imagination to fill in the gaps. In today's episode, we're taking a look at the Yeager Class as first seen in Star Trek Deep Space Nine to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Please note, this was not a video series I was ever looking forward to making. In fact, it held one of the bottom slots for my least favorite design. But like I've said in other videos, sometimes I get suddenly inspired to make videos seemingly out of nowhere, and that's what's happened with this class. And since the Yeager Class is canon, I decided to put myself to work on coming up with a solution to the question of how it came into existence. But of course, and as always, because this is just a little bit of beta canon and fan fiction, all information relayed should pretty much be taken with a grain of stardust, and only considered a little bit of Star Trek fun. And so, with all that out of the way, let's begin. The Dominion, a ruthlessly efficient organization from the Gamma Quadrant, seemed for all intents and purposes to be winning the war. Though the war had just begun in 2373, and Starfleet Command had been upgrading its starships and technology for almost 2 years, the Federation was finding it astronomically difficult to stop this powerful foe. Though not having access to their Gamma Quadrant resources, the Dominion had firmly established themselves in the Alpha Quadrant, allying themselves with the Cardassian Union. The Dominion could build starships and create Jem'Hadar soldiers at a phenomenal rate, while the Federation was experiencing resource and manpower shortages. In an effort to combat this advantage, even before the war began, Starfleet Command instituted a policy of what could be best described as piecework starship construction. Rather than the usual construction techniques of building a ship at a time, with a crew working on said starship until it was ready, Starfleet Command had its shipyards building components, all to be fabricated quickly into a vessel design. It was a great idea in theory, but in practice it would lead to one of the biggest problems and weirdest starship designs Starfleet Command would ever commission. Utilized in the construction of many of the warp core components, Verterium cordonide was produced from the materials polysilicate Verterium and monocrystal cordonum. Due to a shortage of polysilicate Verterium, Starfleet Command began to ration its stores of this valuable commodity. But a stroke of bad luck would occur when all remaining stores of Verterium cordonide were sent to the Beta Antares shipyards, where it was immediately used to construct several dozen pairs of Intrepid-class nacelles. The Federation Council was furious when Starfleet Command reported this blunder, along with the news that they had several saucer-type primary hulls and nacelles to build many Intrepid-class starships, but not enough Verterium cordonite to build the warp cores for that secondary hull of the Intrepid class to be completed. Maintaining their fury, the Federation Council demanded that Starfleet do whatever it takes to solve that problem, before Intrepid-class primary hulls and various nacelles were all that was left of the Federation. Meanwhile, the Copernicus shipyards, located at Luna in Sector 001, was also experiencing the same type of issues thanks to the shortages. The launch of a large Raider-style starship design had to be delayed, as the specifically designed integrated warp nacelles for the class could not be completed. This new Raider class had been a cobbled-together style of design that was meant to be quickly constructed and sent out to protect colonies and outposts within the war zone. As a result, though, tactically, they were inferior to all starship designs of that era, utilizing older components from decommissioned starship designs from decommissioned facilities throughout the Federation, aside from the warp core itself, that is. And so, when the shortage was reported, Starfleet placed a low priority on the completion of the new Raider class, at least until the problem was solved. Taking the Intrepid class issue to its best team at Utopia Planitia, the Starship construction team began considering various options to get the several dozen new Intrepid class vessels launched ASAP. Unfortunately, utilizing older cores, again from decommissioned shipyards, was not a viable solution, as they simply could never generate the power required by the Intrepid class to function. But then, one of the team leads, Dr. Leia Brahms, came across a report of the Raider class that Starfleet Command had put a temporary halt to, noticing specifically its warp core. With a warp core that was almost the exact same as utilized in the Intrepid class, the decision became clear. Simply take the fighter's core and utilize it in the Intrepid class. But this too presented a problem, as the plasma conduits specifically designed for the Raider had to come with the class, and the secondary hull of the Intrepid class were far from finished due to another logistical blunder. Reporting that they could have the Intrepid class vessels constructed in 8 months to a year or more, after deconstructing an entire other class of starship, Starfleet was not too happy with that solution, and heading back to the drawing board, a visiting team member from the Sovereign class project, Captain Montgomery Scott, would provide the team with the answer. Why not just combine the two designs into a new starship class? It won't look pretty, but it should get the job done. At first resistant to the idea, the Yeager design team would run various simulations and tests, discovering that, unusually, the combining of these two classes would be relatively easy, even if the design itself was not the usual beautiful Starfleet aesthetic that the Federation was used to. And taking this innovative design to Starfleet, stating that within a month or less, this new starship design could be launched, Starfleet immediately approved the plan. And with that, the Yeager class would be born. Sitting at a length of 402.11 meters, the Yeager class would be designed to be operated by 204 officers and crew members. Originally, the Raider starship class had integrated starship nacelles, with wing-like arms attached to the hull, with each wing carrying a cannon-style weapon. But to attach the Intrepid-style nacelles to the class, the cannon weaponry systems would be removed, and the wings would in turn become makeshift pylons for those nacelles. Due to the larger profile of the Yeager class, she would never be able to achieve the warp velocities of the original Intrepid class, having a standard safe cruising speed of only warp factor 6, and an emergency maximum speed of warp factor 9.55 for 12-hour increments. The Yeager class would also contain 6 separate impulse engines, with 2 specifically designed on an angle to allow the class to be highly maneuverable at impulse speeds. Tactically, the combining of these two classes would actually make the Yeager class a formidable powerhouse. Thanks to the addition of the Intrepid class primary hull, meant that the Yeager class now had several Type 10 phaser arrays, while the Raider class would add 4 forward and 2 aft torpedo launchers, capable of firing both photon and quantum torpedoes. Multispectral regenerative shielding would provide primary protection for the class. The Intrepid hull's secondary deflector dish would now become the primary deflector dish for the class, while the small Raider's forward dish would work in concert with the main deflector to keep the Yeager class quite safe at tremendous velocities. The biggest issue surrounding combining the two starship classes into one was the very different computer technology used within both. The Intrepid class hull utilized the latest advancement in computer technology, bioneural circuitry, while the Raider class utilized an older form of isolinear technology. When testing began between the two computer systems, it immediately became apparent that it just wouldn't work, and so the Yeager construction and design team brought in the Daystrom Institute to solve the problem quickly for them, modifying the computer core in the Raider class into a hybrid bioneural isolinear core did the trick, mostly. Though, as any officer that served on board a Yeager Class vessel will tell you in short order, the computer systems aboard that class were often finicky, and even sometimes completely unreliable. Launched the day after construction was completed on the class, the design and construction teams, the Daystrom Institute, and Starfleet Command all held their collective breath as her shakedown cruise began. But thankfully, even though Frankenstein together at the speed of light, the Yeager Class performed quite well, with only a few minor adjustments and recommended additions to be made to the class. And so, Starfleet Command would press the team into full construction of the Yeager Class, with the additional 35 starships being completed over the next 3 months. The Yeager Class would perform well during the Dominion War, another sigh of relief for its designers. But after the Dominion War, Starfleet Command would be unsure exactly what to do with the class. A full in-depth systems analysis report was presented to the Command Council, and the report was not a glowing one at all. Though the combined patchwork computer system had worked for the class, the nature of its unreliability became a huge safety concern for Starfleet. Crew members would oftentimes have to input commands several times before the computer systems accepted them, and although during the war, these crews had adapted to this problem was simply unacceptable, and a major danger just waiting to happen. So Starfleet Command had a choice. It could replace all the computer and related systems in the Yeager Class, allowing it to continue to serve, or it could decommission the class altogether. And Starfleet Command would choose the latter, detaching the Intrepid class primary hulls and turning all 36 Yeager Class vessels into new Intrepid class starships as originally intended. The Raider-style class would not be so lucky, having all reusable technology removed and then sent to the decommission yard for scrap. Created as a stopgap measure during the Dominion War, the Yeager Class would become a testament to the imagination and ingenuity of Starfleet's design and construction teams, earning the Yeager its special place in Starfleet history. Thank you for watching today's episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon. What do you think of the historical narrative that I've created here? Do you enjoy videos on such obscure starship classes, and do you want to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help this channel Frankenstein classes together and build tales to explain away strange starship design issues? Then consider becoming a channel member subscriber or a channel patron, both a major help that allows this channel to purchase resources and 3D models to keep it going. The link to both memberships is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper.